open the meeting,
All right.
and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First we'll start, make sure the board received the minutes, reviewed them. Any questions, concerns? Motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve.
From Peg.
Second.
Second from Rocco. And with that, we'll move into new business. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor? All in favor? Aye. Okay, and now we'll move into new business. Mr. Perry, welcome. In a moment, we'll have you kind of explain what it is that you want to do with everything. First, just want to make sure everybody had a chance to review the plans, go by the site, everything like that. Michelle, any outreach from neighboring properties for or against? No? Okay. Then in that case, and there's no public, so.
We get a motion to open the public hearing, right, Bob? We have to do that?
Okay.
I make a motion to open the public hearing. Second.
Second from Rocco. Okay.
Oh, who's first?
Oh,
I'm
sorry,
first.
Kevin first, then Rocco. And now we'll turn it over to Mr. Perry.
So I've never been to one, so I don't know. What? Well, obviously, I want to build the house I showed you for my daughter. My other daughter lives in Collinsville also. They're both school teachers. The house is going to go on the same, basically the same exact foundation that the other house was torn down. There's a big, privacy fence out back, so it's not bothering anybody out back. House to the left, there's a big hedgerow. And on the right, you got the pole barn and stuff. The house is going to be a very nice house. It's definitely going to be an asset to the neighborhood, to the city, taxes, revenue. It's not a huge house where there's going to be 100 kids running around or, in the neighborhood. So I guess what's next you want?
I can ask you a couple of questions.
Sure.
Do you know how close the fence is? It's not your fence in the backyard? Do you know how close that is to the property line?
47 feet
47 feet.
from the house to the fence.
I'm confused.
The front of the house?
I am too. It's the neighbor's fence in the backyard.
Yes. Right here, it was 6-foot fence.
Right.
Yes.
So
How close, do you know how close that is
47 feet.
to the property line?
47 feet, right?
To the property.
To the property.
Oh, it's to the property line.
From the house.
So this is your proposed house.
Yes.
Okay.
So
So
here's the-
backyard, so the fence is back here.
Right.
Do you know how close the neighbor's fence is to the property line?
You mean
Is the fence on the property line?
his fence is right on the property line?
It's right on the property line?
I'm not sure. of that.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry.
Close?
I meant,
Is it close?
I would say yes.
I was curious about
I'm sorry,
that.
I meant from the house back.
Yeah,
I
well,
misunderstood you.
the neighbor's barn,
The neighbor's barn, I believe, we built right on the line.
over here?
Yes, on Phillip Street, the corner.
Yes,
Yes, we built a big pole barn.
yes.
I think that's only a few feet off the line.
Just a few feet or?
Yeah. Yeah, he must have got a variance. Well, I don't know if the variance is.
I don't know if you did.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was just curious.
I don't know how
I
far you
think
got
it
to be
has
in
to
a
be
pole
5
barn.
feet.
Beg your pardon?
I believe it.
I believe
Has to be
it's 5
5 feet. I know we did ours. That was years ago.
I don't think it's 5, but whatever.
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
give a visual
Yeah.
of what was
Yeah.
back there. The shrubs on the driveway side,
Yes.
are those, where's the property line in relation to those shrubs, do you know?
Yes, it's from the barn back here, it's 5 feet.
Yeah, so are the shrubs in your yard?
I would
Just
say-
curious,
I'd
'cause-
say growing into, but not, they're planted on the line, basically.
Okay, shrubs are on the line.
Right.
And again, it just kind of helps to
No,
give
I understand.
a visual of what's going on.
Yep, I got you.
And the property was listed for sale?
Yes.
And you bought it?
Yes.
Do you know how long it was for sale, roughly?
One day.
Oh, when it was a quick sale, okay. Yeah, just curious to that.
Yeah, we've been looking, she's going over to Baldwinville and
Well, I don't blame you.
it's not.
It's a nice place to be.
It is a nice, you know, so,
And
like I said, her sister lives here and so it's
It's actually a nice neighborhood.
very nice. Yeah, it's very pleasant, very nice. The house definitely, I think, is an asset to the area.
I agree.
I have one more thing. Sure. I wanted to point out.
Yep.
I'm gonna go by your big drawing here. I visited the property and I was
Yep.
looking around. I believe, whoa, the drawing is a little out of scale in respect to the line of the barn here. I believe this barn line actually is up here more. I mean, not that
It
it
starts,
matters.
goes all the way up, it's a long barn.
Yes, but as far as where I think the footprint of the barn is depicted here, when I visited the property, it definitely seemed that this line, which I guess we'll call the front of the barn,
Okay.
was up here
And
more.
definitely.
It was definitely forward of where the existing shed is.
100%.
Yeah, and again, just,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think.
which I
it-
didn't draw, but yes, 100%, the barn, it's kind of like at this angle instead of.
Yeah, it comes up here more.
100%.
Where we go? This line, I think is up.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
again.
this here might show you a little more.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got that.
Yeah, sure.
But I just want to point it out because I think it just kind of gives us a little lay of the yard and
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
And that just seemed to be a little bit out of scale,
Yeah,
what I was looking
100%.
at. So I just wanted to point that
No,
out.
100%, because, well, you can see right here, then it comes up.
Yeah, and I don't.
When they drew the barn, I don't know why he drew it that way instead of this way.
All right, those are the only questions I had. Any questions?
Any questions?
Just to confirm, the variance that we're talking about, requirement, what is it? Rear yard, the lot width required is 75, but the existing is only
66.
Yeah,
66.
66.
So that's really the meat of what you're asking for.
Well, there's also needs relief for lot square footage,
Yeah,
you know, and the rear setback.
right.
So there's like 3 different items.
Yeah, but the other
So
one
there's
that's
the
out of
back of the house
performance
to the
is,
fence
right.
is not,
30 feet.
it's only 47 feet. So it's got to be a little bit longer.
So you're going to have enough room to do everything you need to do within the existing plot?
Yes.
Okay,
And he's got a side of 13 and 25 on the side of the house, so.
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, the sides, it's way bigger.
okay,
In the back, it's shorter, but,
yeah.
I mean, I know, well, legality, it's not big enough. But, you know, there's a big 6-foot fence with all equipment behind it. So you're not really encroaching on somebody's neighbor house or something like that.
Nor is it encroaching on you. I mean, you're going to
Well-
have enough room to do what you need to do.
Not, well, no. I mean, it's, like I said, it's, well, obviously they changed it over the years. Several of the houses, they're all under, but they were all before.
Do you know when the last house was taken down by any chance?
I do not.
I think it's been a while.
Well, yeah, I would say it's definitely been a while. Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further comments, questions from either yourself or the board?
I'm good.
Okay.
You comfortable?
I'd just like to ask a couple questions.
Sure.
if that's okay. Is it possible for you to build a house on this lot small enough so that you wouldn't need a variance?
No.
Why not?
Well, it don't have to be, I mean, it's 600 feet, you'd have to build 100 feet or something. You know,
So the size of the house would have to be,
wouldn't even be a livable house,
okay,
because it's only 600 square feet.
right.
So, I mean, to make it legal, it would probably be 200 square feet or something.
Okay,
No, that's about as small a house as you can build.
I understand, just for the record.
No, it's-
Also, have you checked the frontages on the other houses on the street?
Yes.
And how
I'm
do you
aligned
stand
with
with
them.
them? You're aligned with them?
Yeah, it's going to all line right up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get that in the record.
Yeah, which, to me, whatever the code would be in front, you'd want to stay in line with the rest of the houses. You don't want to go closer or back.
Yeah, I visited the
To
property
make it look
today,
uniform.
and I kind of measured it out, kind of to look where that 20-foot line was, and you could look right, left and right, and see
Right,
if there was
I
a
mean-
greater line, and it would look much nicer as being
Correct.
aligned with the two houses right next to it.
Yes. So, basically, for the lot under rebuildable, this is about the only thing you could do.
Is Rowley the contractor that's going to build this?
Well, Raleigh he's a real good friend of mine,
Yeah,
and
I've seen,
he's built some of my houses, he helps me.
Yeah.
Does, yeah.
yeah. So is he going to be the builder?
Yeah, well, he's going
Oh,
to
okay.
do
Okay,
the main stuff.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we'll close. And we'll go.
If everybody's comfortable, make a motion to close the public hearing.
A motion to close the public hearing.
I will make that motion.
Okay. Second. Rocco? Okay. So now we have what we call the findings of fact. We've got 5 questions here that
Yep.
we'll be discussing with you.
Back down, my hearing aids back down.
All right, so now do we vote on this? Have we go through?
We'll take a straw vote.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so the first question is whether undesirable change would be produced in character of neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties.
I would say absolutely not.
We have no one coming forward saying that there's a detriment to them, right? And it seems like it looked really nice to me.
I agree.
I'm going to go with the number 1 question first, because I think you lumped 1 and 2 together.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I? Oh, I didn't realize there were 2. I got to make 1 here.
Requested variance will not produce undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. I say it will not be an undesirable change. If I define the neighborhood of the houses enclosed from East Genesee Street to East Oneida Street and to Spruce Street, so kind of that big triangle.
Yeah, triangle.
I believe there, according to my count, there's roughly 48 lots there. 8 of them are a very similar size as to what you have, kind of that undersized
correct.
lot, including the property that would be to the east of
Yes.
of where it is. It is a similar undersized
Almost
lot.
exact.
If we look at the front requirement of 75 feet width, again, in those 48 properties, I think 19 of them do not meet that required lot width in the front. So I think, in those respects, what you're trying to do, I think is very in character and in keeping with the neighborhood.
Neighborhood.
Great. Okay. you want me to go to number 2?
Yeah.
I'll answer number 2. No substantial detriment will be created to nearby properties. As I said, the property to the east is a very similar sized lot, similar situation.
Similar house, similar everything.
So and there is the row of shrubs between the 2 houses, so I don't see any issue to that property. If we look at the property on the other side, which kind of wraps around the side and the back, that's actually one of the larger lots in that triangle. At your backyard, there's the neighbor's fence,
Yes.
which about a 6-foot fence when I looked at it.
Right.
As near as I can tell, inside that fenced area, it's kind of like storage,
Yeah, for
trailers,
Yes.
work
All
stuff.
commercial stuff.
So, I don't think it's hurting the property on that side because what butts up against you is just like storage area.
Right.
Fence and storage area. It's not like there's swimming pools there and they're, using
Right.
it for recreation. And if we look at the west side of the property in the back, where the barn was and where I was talking about the barn, on the drawing, it doesn't, it appears that the barn doesn't come as far forward as it does. So with that barn coming forward more, it kind of encloses your backyard. So they've got a fence and they've got a barn. So it's not really hurting them for you to have that smaller backyard. That's my answer to that question. If anybody else has anything.
I agree.
Okay.
I have no issue with that.
The neighbors didn't have any issues either, they're not here, so yeah.
There was no other feasible method available to you to achieve the benefit you seek other than the requested variance.
That was Bob's question.
Yeah, Bob asked that question. I think building a smaller house might be difficult
Yeah.
as far as,
This is
It have
too
to be one
bad.
of those tiny houses you see on TV,
yeah, I just don't know how feasible that
which would
would be.
actually hurt.
Get heard from the neighborhood.
And, I kind of feel the only other option would be for the neighbors to buy it and annex it to their property. Apparently, nobody was interested in doing
Right.
that. So,
Yeah.
So number 4, the requested area variance is not substantial. So it's kind of
buddy,
Well, again, required 75 feet is the current spec. This is going to be 66, so we're talking about 9, or
Right.
we're talking about 9 feet.
9 feet.
And then is it about 10 feet in the rear?
rear is 10 feet.
10 feet.
And I think the lot next door is 66 feet also.
The,
The one going down on Oneida. Yeah. That might have been the old, that might have been the old code.
Yeah.
Might have been 50 feet
Yeah,
back in
because,
the days.
right. Yeah, I don't know when the other houses were built, so that,
I'm just going to go a little bit deeper into that. Is it substantial? I think you could put up an argument that based on our code, the differences are substantial. The lot size, being required 7,500 and you've got 5,600, and that's fairly substantial by the code. I don't feel that that's substantial for the character of the neighborhood. There's 8 other properties in that block that are very similar. The neighborhood has that type of feel. So to answer it, I think all of them could be argued they are substantial based on our code, but not for the neighborhood. Talking about the 75-foot width, and you only have 66, well, that's a difference.
Right.
we can argue back and forth whether it's substantial or not.
Then you only need 15 feet both sides, and it's 36 feet.
But when we look at the character of the neighborhood, a good portion of the lots in that neighborhood don't have the required width, so it's not like we're doing anything really obnoxious there.
Right.
And again, the rear setback, you know, I'm going to argue by code numbers that it might be substantial, but I think for what's going on in that neighborhood and the fact that you've got, to the west side, you got a barn that's going to be much of your backyard.
Yeah.
There's a fence that kind of seems to be more of a storage area. And if we look to the southeast, there's another big garage there that kind of butts up to that back corner.
Yeah.
So I don't think it really hurts any of the neighbors, and based on what's going on in the neighborhood, I don't think any of those numbers are significant.
I don't think it's going to infringe on their space at all.
And the size of the house, like you said, is 600 square foot on one level. Like, it's a very modest sized house we're talking about here. Like,
Yeah,
small
I mean,
size
it's
you can do.
as
So
modest
when I
as
think
you
about
could
substantial in
really-
that aspect, this is really a small, you're looking at the smallest house you can possibly build there.
Right.
Okay. The proposed variance will not have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
I think we've just discussed that. Really, it's not going to have an impact.
If anything, I think it will improve the look of the neighborhood, because we kind of have an empty lot there where you see two big garages.
Falling down
We're
road,
gonna- yeah,
falling
we're-
down trees.
We're going to put a house there that kind of keeps it in character, I think, with the rest of the neighborhood. Instead of having that empty lot with views of the neighbors' garages, we're going to see a nice house there. So, you know, I certainly don't think it's going to harm it. I think it's going to help the neighborhood, kind of help the feel of the neighborhood. More residential look than what it currently is.
Agree with that as well. I've got one additional one here, but I don't know if that's necessary.
I was actually looking at that today.
Optional.
The self-created hardship, is that one of the questions we should
Yes.
consider for the area variance?
It would be, I'm not, it's up to the board, but when somebody purchases property knowing what the restrictions are, that's a self-created hardship. But in use variances, it's critical. In area variances, it is not.
So the final question was whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. But as Bob pointed out, use variances, it's critical. Area variance, not.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, it is self-created.
Yeah.
There's no way around
I
it.
mean, I
It's
was actually
self-created.
thinking it wasn't, but now you put that way it is.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking that's the size of lot, but I didn't have to buy it, so.
You did try and get an answer before you purchased the property though, right? And we weren't.
Beg your pardon?
You tried to get an answer to this question before you purchased the
Yeah.
property, and we weren't able to meet
Yeah.
that for you. So that's part of, like, I think a
Yeah.
piece to this, is that, you know, you reached out, we had tried to have a meeting in August, or I mean, in July.
Yes.
And couldn't have that meeting before you were actually going to purchase it. You would have liked to have known the answer first, but you had to either buy it or not buy it.
Exactly.
Okay. So any other questions, comments, thoughts before we move to vote?
I think I'm comfortable.
I mean, the main question is whether the benefit to the applicant would outweigh the detriment to the neighborhood or the community. And that's basically what the main issue is after considering everything else.
Do we have a motion to vote, or do we have
And we're going to vote on that question, where we vote on that question
Question.
next.
It either does or it doesn't.
Okay. So
So it's,
for those who believe that it does and doesn't, what do you say?
Well, I think taking all the things that we discussed, I feel the benefit to the applicant does outweigh the detriment to the community.
Right.
You know, based on all the questions that we answered and going through those, that is my feeling, so.
I agree.
Agreed?
I agree, yes.
Okay. So now we make a motion to to accept?
Yeah.
Okay.
To grant the area variance
Yes.
for Randy Perry for 94 East Oneida Street, tax map 006.03.02.0, to construct the two-story home with the first floor being 652 square feet. The variance granting relief for the 7,500 square foot lot size requirement, where he has only 5,676. Granting relief from the 75-foot front lot width, where he has only 66 feet. And granting him relief for the rear setback distance of 40 feet, where he will have only 30 feet. I covered all, Bob?
Yeah.
So I will make that motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Done deal.
Perfect.
Good,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Forward to
It's gonna be
seeing
a
it.
beautiful house, yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
That sounds good. I can't remember whether you and I have done this before.
Okay, very good, easy as that, you're all set.
When does construction start?
Soon.
Good. Welcome on. I love this.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
Used-
Are you a teacher in Baldwinville?
Together.
I'm actually in Fulton.
No, in Bolton,
Schools,
okay, gotcha,
yes.
okay, so close. Come to Baldwinville.
Yeah, he was Baldwin's.
That's where my niece goes.
Close.
My oldest daughter, she was Fulton principal, now she's at BOCES.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
What's her name?
Heather Witter.
Her husband has been at Baldwinsville, so his grandfather was, I think, superintendent at Baldwinsville.
Oh, really?
Well, we close it here.
Wow.
We already closed it here, we go to, we're done. Yeah, this part.
Congratulations, and I look forward to having you in the neighborhood.
Yes, thank you so much.
Close the meeting? Or we close the public hearing already.
Right, but you gotta close the meeting if you want to close the meeting.
So we want to talk about this next.
Okay.
So we're good, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Signs, where we stand on the sign revisions.
Yeah, the last comment was about the American flag. That it must be flown and not attached. And I added that to the definition of sign where it says, sign does not include the flag, pennant, or insignia of any nation or group of nations in any state, city, or other religious or governmental unit. That took them out of the definition of sign. But I added, any American flag must be flown and not attached. But I think everything else was okay.
Do we have the suspended signs? I think the last time we met, that was, we were talking about the projecting signs, and I think Matt came up with suspended signs. So the signs that are on a bracket that's 90 degrees from the building.
I think they're suspended, right?
Yeah, they're
And then the other
suspended
ones,
from a bracket.
They aren't,
Yeah.
more swinging, yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're talking about projecting, but with the suspended signs must, I forget what,
I think the last time we talked about it, I brought that up, and I think if I remember correctly, you said that you thought that suspended signs maybe got lumped in with projected signs at
Yes.
one point, and I think we were going to maybe try and do some of that by email.
okay. I can, what is it that, because I don't have all my notes on this, because there's a lot of them.
As I remember, the code talks about projecting signs.
Yes, but I mean, how would you want to, as far as suspended signs are concerned, you want them to be at 90-degree angle?
Yeah, I think I think the suspended signs are not addressed in the code.
No.
And there's a lot of them out there, and I think they're very appropriate. I think the board thought that they were appropriate, and we were going to call them suspended signs. So it's probably going to be there probably needs to be a definition and a new section. And basically, they hang off the building at 90 degrees. I think BG1 has one. I think
There's a bunch of them, actually.
yeah, there's a couple of them on Oswego Street.
Yeah.
And kind of like those old placard signs, that we used to see. And they all seem to have some sort of bracket, maybe a metal bracket or something. I'm not kind of too real fussy about the bracket, but I think there's a lot of them out there that maybe are not actually allowed under our current code, because I think they would fall under projecting signs, and I think there's something like maybe a foot off the building at most.
Yeah, because we have something called freestanding signs, which we were adding, which also talks about it has to be set back 4 feet from the right of way, and cannot be more than, that the height of the sign shall be measured from the ground, the elevation to the top of the sign. And I know we talked about how high up that had to be. That would be the same thing with a suspended sign. All right, let me pull that. I will get, let me add that. I'll email that to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that was the only thing, so it's like a definition and a code for that, you know, what would be allowable, and I don't think we've talked about any dimensions or
I was
heights.
gonna say, we're probably gonna get into sizes, right?
We probably should.
Yeah, and then height over the ground elevation.
And most of them, kind of what we have, I think are more rectangular. It's like a horizontal sign. I don't know what, some of them might be 2 feet, some might be 3 feet or something, so I'm thinking somewhere 3, 3 by 1.5 maybe would be appropriate. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts, but
I'll add that, and that'll be section 12, and I'll get that done.
Okay. And something left over from when Greg was here, there's the outline of a sign at the old First Trust on the corner of Oswego and Genesee. And it's on the second level, and it's just a wooden outline of a sign. And I know it was supposed to be taken down. Nobody ever did it, and I don't know who owns the property. So just something for the notes, and maybe we can contact Michelle, and maybe we can contact the owner of the building,
Corner of Genesee and
in Oswego.
tattoo parlor.
No, oh yeah, tattoo parlor, but upstairs.
he's moving anyways.
Oh,
Soon.
tattoo parlor?
Oh, no. Too bad.
I had one thing just to make note of, that, given that Jim was absent tonight, and in case, anybody else is out as well, we should probably try to find an alternative.
Yeah, another alternate.
I actually know someone that's...
There is one alternate.
Who was that?
What are you doing?
Andrew. Andrew's from the other group, right?
He's Eric, right?
Yeah.
He's a liaison.
Yeah.
He's not
Yeah,
a board
but
member.
Yeah.
I have Roseanne Wicks.
I think she resigned.
No, she's not on this. She went to the planning board.
Oh,
Oh, okay, so she's off of the ZBA,
Yeah.
so we need to get another one.
Yeah.
a good point. We were hoping you'd come.
Yes, I already didn't respond. But I do know someone that's interested in being an alternate for the DBA.
Good.
Can I have them reach out to you, Michelle?
Please.
Just do it, start it that way?
And Bob, I was also curious, had there only been 3 of us tonight, would we have been able to proceed?
Well, you've got, this 5-man board, so 3 members constitutes a quorum.
Okay.
And if it had been really bad, we'd have gotten the chairman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing, that each board can still adopt, or the village can adopt policies relative to virtual attendance in unusual circumstances. And of course, his staying at home because of COVID would be, I mean, that's what it was put there for in the first place.
Do we have to adopt that, or we have?
I think the village has adopted that, so, I mean, you could, if you want, you could adopt a resolution saying that the board would allow members to attend virtually upon a showing that of a substantial reason.
So we should do that, we can do
Yeah,
that.
you can do that, might as well do that now, then that way that follows
I will
along.
make a motion that we do that.
I'll second that motion, but I also think that we should look for another alternative.
Oh, yes, yep.
Both.
Yeah.
So Kevin made the motion, Peg seconded. All in favor? Unanimous. Great.
Good. Do we want to talk about the vacant house thing again? I did, well, the reason I bring it up, I did a little looking, and I keep going back to, is our code sufficient to address it?
The code is sufficient relative to those vacant properties which constitute a hazard. I think I mentioned this previously, and we've used that in the procedures where the code enforcement officer and the town engineer go to the property, make an inspection, come back to the Board of Trustees, and they adopt a resolution to, with notification to the owner, to either fix it up or have it subject to being demolished. And we've been very successful over the past several years in demolishing a handful of properties that were in fact vacant. They were wide open, there were animals in there, they were, so I think that'll take care of that. Relative to the zombie houses, so to speak, where there's a foreclosure and it's vacant, but it doesn't constitute a hazard to the community, then that could be a question. Although the question then becomes, at what point does the code enforcement officer have authority to go in and look at the property, and whether or not you need to get basically a search warrant from the town or from the village justice.
And I looked at Village of Fayetteville's code, and it almost seems like they have kind of a step that might trigger something with code enforcement, rather than waiting till the place gets really, really bad and neighbors start complaining.
Let me take a look at that.
Yeah, they had electricity. There were electricity. Every dwelling shall be supplied with and lighted with electricity. And that was, they had it under Chapter 99 minimum standards. And they also had a heating requirement, hot and cold water at every sink. So if somebody shut off the water, that could be a trigger. And they also had a trigger about infestation.
Sure, or for example, if National Grid shuts off the power.
And when I kind of read that, I was thinking, well, is that a way that maybe we could let people know, hey, you gotta do something before it gets really serious and becomes a big fight? Because I didn't know if we really had anything like that in the current code.
Not like that, but that's, I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, is it just something, a friendly nudge rather than letting things get really bad? And that was my only thing.
I think the property in question meets all of those requirements, and there was another one that I found as well that meets and structurally.
But it's been years like that.
Correct.
So what I'm saying, is there a trigger that we could have done?
That we could have used
done a few years
back.
ago that might have brought attention to it
Yeah.
a little bit?
And I think that's wise.
Not as drastic.
I don't think it's really our mission to demolish houses, but we have to
Right.
make sure that they're safe.
Correct.
And I bring this one up specifically, the one on Oswego Street, because if it goes, it's also near the schoolyard. It'll fall into the schoolyard.
Okay.
That was just my thinking. Is
No,
there
and I
any
agree.
step
I
that we
agree,
could do?
yeah,
Looking at
yeah.
it strictly from a code perspective. is
Yeah,
there-
this is like phase one.
Yep, understand. Yep, that was, kind of my thinking. Well, read the code and think about it for a few days and find some other code and, why they're doing this
Now,
different.
do you have access to general code on the on the village's account? Because it helps you go in and search a lot better on general code.
No, I don't think we have that, although I use Code 360 and searched and,
You know,
I don't have
because if you go on as a member, so to speak, then, and using the village's account, then it's a lot easier to search, as opposed to picking village by village and town by town and looking.
yeah.
So that's something we could,
I think that
That's a
would be
good
a
idea, I didn't
training.
know that either.
yeah, I think Greg had gotten that together years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, but it's
That would
Why
be
did I-
beneficial though.
very helpful.
So at this point, what's our next step with the abandoned houses?
I'm sorry?
What's our next step?
Well, it's my next step. Let me take a look at the code and
Okay.
then we can talk about, maybe making an amendment to put in, under unsafe properties, put in a provision like they do in Chapter 99, and then kind of redo that so that it's not exactly a hazard to the community, but it's on its way.
Yeah. Yeah, so probably we should all go look at that. It was Village of Fayetteville, Chapter 99, Housing Standards, Article 3, Minimum Standards, 99-16. And I just looked at Fayetteville. It's the only other one I looked at to get some ideas, just to, where are we at? What are other people doing?
Yes.
And that was my approach to it. So it'd probably be good to go look and go find some other ones with our new search capabilities that we're going to get. I'm good. Anybody else? Motion to adjourn?
Yep, motion to adjourn. Kevin, second? I'll take it.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good, thank you.